At least 5 people have been killed in a shooting in northern Germany's state city on Monday. Police confirmed. A male suspect has been detained, according to German news agency dpa, citing local authorities. The motive for the attack remains unclear as of yet, with police emphasizing that further investigation is ongoing. Stade, located just below 50,000 people in population, is situated west of Hamburg, a major city in northern Germany. This incident has sent shockwaves through the community and beyond, prompting immediate concern from residents and authorities alike. Local media outlets have reported details about what transpired during this tragic event. The shooting took place at a youth center in central Stade, which serves as a gathering spot for young people in the area. Some reports mentioned multiple suspects being involved, but police did not immediately confirm these claims. This has led to heightened tensions and uncertainty among residents, who are trying to piece together what happened during this violent incident. As of now, 2 individuals have been arrested by law enforcement officials. One suspect is identified as a male individual who is currently under custody. Police are actively investigating the circumstances surrounding the shooting, including potential motives, accomplices, and any links to organized crime or other criminal activities. They believe that more arrests may be made in the coming days. In response to the incident, police have advised residents to avoid the affected area, which lies outside of the town center. Authorities are using their social media channels to disseminate this information and urge people to stay safe. The community is currently under a state of heightened alert as local authorities work tirelessly to bring closure and understanding to those impacted by the tragedy. This shooting marks a significant event for Stade, raising concerns about public safety and security in the region. It has also prompted discussions among residents and officials regarding potential measures to prevent or mitigate such incidents in the future. Authorities are committed to providing updates as they gather more information and continue their investigation into this tragic matter. As news of this shocking event continues to spread, it is crucial for all community members to remain informed and cooperative with law enforcement efforts. The support and cooperation of residents will be vital in ensuring a swift resolution to this tragedy and helping the affected individuals find some measure of comfort during these difficult times. In Ukraine's latest assault, it strikes another Russian oil refinery, adding to Moscow's growing crisis. As Russian President Vladimir Putin admits to fuel shortages across Russia, he reasserts his war aims without conceding ground. This pivotal moment reveals a stark new reality for both sides as Ukraine continues its relentless campaign against the heart of Russia's energy infrastructure. The situation escalated sharply in recent weeks with Ukrainian drones striking an oil refinery in Moscow itself. These strikes have not only caused significant damage, but also highlighted the vulnerability of Russia's energy sector, which is crucial to sustaining its military operations and civilian life. Putin acknowledged at a meeting in the Kremlin with government ministers that Ukrainian counterstrikes deep into Russian territory are much stronger and more impactful. Ukraine's drone attacks intensified further as they targeted not just oil refineries, but also other critical infrastructure such as power plants and gas pipelines, all aimed at disrupting Russia's energy supply network. Putin emphasized these were part of a broader strategy to divert attention from the main objectives, the complete liberation of Donbas and Novorossiya regions in eastern Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has proposed a face-to-face meeting with Putin multiple times, but his offers have been rejected. In a televised interview, Putin dismissed these proposals as attempts to relieve pressure on Kyiv's forces along the 1,250-kilometer front line. He reiterated that Ukraine must abandon its remaining positions in Donetsk region as a key condition for any peace deal. The admission of fuel shortages is significant because it underscores Russia's growing economic strain. Putin stated that his government was dealing with these issues but acknowledged they persisted. The president highlighted the need to reduce the impact of terrorist attacks on civilian targets and infrastructure, emphasizing the importance of maintaining energy supplies for both military operations and daily life. Meanwhile, Russian missiles have continued their strikes on Ukrainian cities, including Kyiv as recently as June 28. These attacks not only inflict damage, but also serve as a deterrent, further complicating any potential negotiation process. The crisis has forced Putin to consider new strategies, such as bolstering air defense systems and contemplating a ban on diesel exports. He acknowledged that his country needed to counter intensified Ukrainian drone attacks aimed at the oil industry, which is vital for Russia's economy and military operations. Ukraine's response continues with its heavy drone assault, setting fire to major oil refineries in southern regions of Russia. Putin claimed these actions were aimed at diverting attention from their primary objectives, the liberation of Donbas and Novorossiya regions. The latest developments have significant implications for both sides. For Ukraine, it represents a testament to their resilience and determination to reclaim control over vital infrastructure. For Russia, it highlights the severe strain on its energy sector and underscores the need for robust defense measures to protect these critical assets. In conclusion, Vladimir Putin's admission of fuel shortages marks another escalation in this prolonged conflict. It forces both sides to confront not only military, but now also economic challenges. The latest events underscore the complexity and intensity of this struggle, where military operations are intertwined with political maneuvering and economic considerations. Ukraine's relentless campaign against Russia's energy infrastructure continues to expose the harsh realities faced by all parties involved in this conflict. In a stunning twist, just 8 teams remain from a tournament that began with numerous hopefuls all vying for 4 spots in the round of 32 at this World Cup. The United States, Canada and Mexico have already secured their places, along with France, Germany, Spain, Portugal, Brazil, Norway and others. On Wednesday, they face Bosnia-Herzegovina in Santa Clara, California, while Canada squares off against South Africa on Sunday. Other key matchups include Morocco versus the Netherlands, Japan versus Brazil, and Norway facing Ivory Coast. This tournament has provided a unique backdrop for history to be made. For the first time, both co-host nations, the United States and Canada, will advance to the knockout stage of a World Cup. The U.S., with their powerful momentum from 2 consecutive victories, faces Bosnia-Herzegovina in what could be an intense battle. Christian Pulisic, who entered as a substitute in the second half against Turkey, had not played since suffering a calf injury during the opening match. Every game is like a knockout, Sebastian Berhalter, U.S. midfielder and scorer against Turkey, emphasized. We've been playing with that intensity all along. Canada's run to 3rd place also marks their first ever appearance in the knockout round of a World Cup. The impact of these matches extends beyond just qualification. 3rd place finishes are no guarantees. Teams with 4 points, 1 win, 1 draw and 1 loss almost certainly make it into the knockout stage. Bosnia-Herzegovina, Sweden, Ecuador and Paraguay have already qualified in this manner. Scotland's World Cup journey remains a long shot despite their impressive run to 3rd place. Iran and South Korea are also on the bubble for qualification. England and Ghana have secured spots, with Croatia needing only a win or draw to qualify as Group C winners. Panama has been eliminated from contention altogether. The narrative of this tournament is rich with stories of nations making history. The co-hosts' appearances in the knockout stage mark a significant milestone. Japan's journey also highlights their long-standing relationship with Brazil. Zico, a Brazilian legend, brought professionalization to Japan's football in 1991 and supported Japan's successful bid for hosting the World Cup in 2002. Canada's success as runner-up in Group B has them facing South Africa in what promises to be an exciting match. The Netherlands' clash with Morocco is expected to be one of the most anticipated games of the round of 32, showcasing a matchup between 2 powerhouse nations from different continents. As we move into the final day of group play, these matches will not only determine which teams advance, but also set the stage for the knockout phase. The United States' clash with Bosnia-Herzegovina and Japan's encounter with Brazil are full-circle moments, highlighting how far they've come in their respective journeys. Police say 5 people were killed and 2 arrested after a shooting at a youth welfare center in the northern German city of Stade on Monday. 5 victims were fatally injured while others sustained injuries, according to police. The incident took place as part of a major operation on Dankerstrasse, a street south of the city center. Police urged residents to avoid the area and follow emergency services instructions. Stade is about 40 kilometers from Hamburg, with a population of 500,000 people. This shooting occurred in a facility that serves youth welfare needs, highlighting its importance within the community. The center likely provides support for young individuals who may be facing challenges or require additional assistance to navigate their lives effectively. The attack took place on Dankerstrasse, which is situated south of Stade's town center. Police have stated that there was no ongoing danger to the public as a result of this shooting, but residents were advised to avoid the area and follow emergency services instructions for safety. 2 suspects were arrested following the incident, with one believed to be the alleged shooter. The police operation in Stade has been extensive, involving a major investigation on Dankerstrasse. This shows the thorough approach taken by law enforcement to ensure all leads are followed up and evidence is collected. Police confirmed that the shooting occurred south of the city center. They have not yet provided details about the background or circumstances leading up to this incident. Authorities are working diligently to understand what transpired, including any potential motives behind the attack. Germany has relatively strict laws on gun ownership, making mass shootings rare events in the country. However, such incidents still occur from time to time and can be particularly shocking due to their unexpected nature. This shooting serves as a reminder of the importance of these stringent regulations, which are designed to prevent such tragedies. The state is home to about 50,000 inhabitants, located approximately 25 miles west of Hamburg. The city's population reflects its size and community focus on youth welfare services. Such incidents can have significant impacts on these communities, not only in terms of loss, but also through the emotional toll they take on residents. The state shooting underscores the need for continued vigilance by law enforcement and the importance of robust legal frameworks to mitigate potential threats against vulnerable populations. It also highlights the critical role that youth welfare facilities play within their communities and the support they provide. 4 months ago, the United States and Israel launched a joint military operation that saw unprecedented levels of integration between their militaries and political systems. This move was seen as a significant shift from the traditional US-Israel alliance, which often prioritized Israeli security concerns over broader regional interests. The operation highlighted how closely aligned these two nations had become in terms of strategy and decision-making. The joint military operation marked a departure from past practices where Israel frequently acted independently or with limited U.S. This level of integration was seen as necessary to address the complex threats facing both countries, including Iran's nuclear program and regional instability. The operation also underscored the growing influence of Iranian-backed groups in the region. However, this joint military effort did not go unnoticed by other actors in the Middle East. Iran responded with its own strategic moves, escalating tensions further. In response to these developments, the U.S. began to reassess its relationship with Israel and other regional allies. The Obama administration had already begun to distance itself from traditional Israeli interests, particularly regarding Iran. 4 months ago, President Donald Trump took office and immediately signaled a significant shift in U.S. policy towards the Middle East. He severed diplomatic ties with Iran and imposed harsh sanctions on Tehran, signaling a clear preference for direct engagement over multilateral negotiations. This unilateral approach was seen as a strategic move to weaken Iran's influence without ceding too much ground to allies like Israel. The United States' decision to engage directly with Iran came at the expense of its traditional allies, including Israel. Israel had long been wary of such moves, fearing that they could undermine its security and regional dominance. The U.S. unilateral stance was met with immediate skepticism from Israeli leaders who warned of potential consequences for their country's security. In this new landscape, the United States sought to balance its strategic interests against those of its allies. By engaging directly with Iran, the U.S. hoped to achieve a more stable and balanced regional order that would benefit all parties involved. However, Israel's concerns over security were not ignored. They remained at the forefront of discussions. Former Israeli Ambassador Michael Herzog argued that this unilateral approach was a direct challenge to Israel's strategic interests. He contended that by engaging directly with Iran, the United States may be weakening its traditional allies' position without offering substantial concessions or support. This unilateral move could lead to increased Iranian influence and instability in the region, potentially threatening Israel's security. Danielle Pletka from the American Enterprise Institute added another perspective. She suggested that while there might be strategic benefits to any deal between the U.S. and Iran, Israel's concerns over security must also be addressed. The potential for a more balanced regional power structure was enticing, but came with significant risks. Pletka emphasized that the United States needed to find ways to ensure that its allies remain secure within this new framework. Aaron David Miller, who has extensive experience in Middle East diplomacy, offered an analysis of the evolving relationship between the United States and Iran. He highlighted that while there were clear benefits to any deal, Israel's interests could not be ignored. Miller believed that the U.S. must find a way to ensure that its allies remain secure within this new framework. The future trajectory of these negotiations was unclear. While some analysts saw potential for compromise, others predicted continued tension and conflict. The key would likely lie in how both parties navigated their complex relationships and balanced their interests amidst shifting alliances. In conclusion, the U.S.-Israel alliance faced unprecedented challenges as it navigated this new chapter with Iran. As these negotiations unfolded, The fate of one of America's closest allies hung in the balance, raising questions about its future role in regional affairs. The outcome could redefine not only the relationship between the United States and Israel but also reshape the entire Middle East landscape for years to come. The U.S. Supreme Court has refused President Donald J. Trump's final appeal to overturn a $5 million verdict for sexually abusing Jean Carroll nearly 3 decades ago. Without comment and without any of the 9 justices registering dissent, the court denied Trump's request to review the decision made by a New York jury. This marks the end of Trump's attempts to avoid accountability for his alleged actions against the writer. The Supreme Court gave no details about their decision not to take up the case. As is customary, Carroll testified over 3 days at the trial, describing how she claimed President Trump turned a friendly encounter in 1996 into a violent attack in a Bergdorf Goodman department store dressing room. She reported that Trump groped her and kissed her on his Access Hollywood tape from 2005. The jury found that Trump had defamed Carroll by denying her claim of sexual assault, and they awarded her $5 million in damages. Trump denied the allegations and repeatedly claimed that the judge who presided over the civil trial improperly allowed evidence to be presented that affected how jurors viewed him. A federal appeals court agreed with the jury's verdict last year and said a new trial was not warranted. Trump then asked the highest court to intervene, but his final appeal has been denied. Carroll's attorney, Roberta Kaplan, stated in a statement that the Supreme Court's decision affirms once and for all the jury's unanimous verdict that President Donald J. Trump sexually assaulted and defamed Jean Carroll. She added, his multiple efforts to appeal that verdict have all failed, and today's ruling ends his quest to avoid accountability for his actions. Carroll is now 81 years old and has sued Trump for attacking her in the mid-1990s in a department store dressing room. The defamation stemmed from Trump's post on his Truth Social platform in 2022 denying her claim. The Supreme Court's decision means that President Trump will have to pay Carroll the $5 million damages she had been awarded, ending his final appeal and leaving him with no further legal recourse against the verdict. This ruling has sent a strong message about accountability for high-profile individuals who engage in serious misconduct. The American people stand with President Trump as they demand an immediate end to all of the witch hunts, including the Democrat-funded travesty of the Carroll hoaxes, said a spokesman for Trump's legal team. While Trump was found to have defamed and sexually abused Jean Carroll, he was not found guilty of rape, as defined in New York's Penal Code. The verdict has sent shockwaves through American politics and society, with many questioning whether the president can continue his presidency while facing such serious allegations. In today's shocking news from Ukraine, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has condemned as horrific attacks a wave of Russian missile and drone strikes that killed at least 11 civilians and injured 40 others on Monday alone. This comes amid Russia's ongoing 4-year-long invasion, targeting critical infrastructure to weaken Ukrainian morale and disrupt daily life. Since the start of this conflict, more than 16,000 Ukrainian civilians have perished. Zelenskyy has renewed his call for Europe to develop advanced air defenses to protect against Russian ballistic missiles, emphasizing that people need greater protection from such horrific attacks. The latest strikes occurred in multiple regions including central Dnipro, southern Zaporizhia, and northeastern Sumy. In the central city of Dnipro, a Russian missile targeting infrastructure struck Monday, killing 5 people and wounding 29. In Zaporizhia, southern Ukraine, Russian drones hit a passenger minibus, leaving 3 dead and 6 injured, including 1 child. In the northeastern region of Sumy, Russian drones killed a 69-year-old woman and a 77-year-old man. In Kharkiv, a daytime strike by Russian forces killed 1 person and wounded 5 others. Other deadly attacks occurred in at least 6 other regions across Ukraine, authorities reported without providing further details. No immediate information was available on the number of casualties or injuries from these strikes. The power grid also took a hit as some customers in 8 Ukrainian regions were left without power Monday after Russian strikes, while hot weather drove up electricity use as people turned on air conditioners. Zelenskyy renewed his plea for Europe to step up its development of air defenses to block Russia's ballistic missiles. People need greater protection from such horrific attacks, he said. Above all, we need anti-ballistic capabilities. It is essential that Europe is as active as possible in developing its own anti-ballistic defense, its own systems and missiles. The latest strikes have brought fuel shortages to Russia and occupied territories, according to Western officials. Ukraine's expanding drone strikes have disrupted the Russian military's supply lines, slowing their advance in eastern and southern Ukraine. Ukraine has become an international leader in drone technology for military use, having previously sought foreign support. It is now aiding partner countries with its innovative engineering, which it developed as a response to Russia's aggression. While acknowledging that Ukrainian long-range drone strikes on Russian oil facilities have caused fuel shortages, President Putin remains steadfast in his demands for a ceasefire. He insisted that temporary setbacks are merely part of Russia's ongoing campaign and that they will ultimately prevail. Putin ruled out making concessions, insisting that Russian troops are continuing their frontline offensive. The Kremlin spokesperson, Dmitry Peskov, echoed this stance, asserting that Russia is committed to its goal of defeating Ukraine. The Institute for the Study of War, a Washington-based think tank, noted that Russia's battlefield performance and Ukraine's Air Force shooting down 82 out of 108 drones are attempts to push the West and Ukraine into giving in to Russian demands. As Ukraine continues its resistance with innovative drone warfare, the international community watches closely over this escalating conflict. The humanitarian toll has been devastating, with more than 16,000 Ukrainian civilians killed since the invasion began 4 years ago. Zelensky's call for advanced air defenses highlights the urgency of finding a way to protect his people from such horrific attacks. The U.S. Supreme Court has blocked President Donald Trump's attempt to fire Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook, affirming her appointment despite claims she engaged in mortgage fraud. In a 5-4 decision, the High Court ruled that the administration had not provided sufficient due process for Cook, upholding her position and sending the matter back to lower courts, where the administration will have to prove its allegations against her. This case marks a significant victory for those who argue for the independence of the Federal Reserve. The central bank is crucial to maintaining economic stability in the world's largest economy. Its governors are appointed by the president after a Senate confirmation process, ensuring their independence from political influence. In his ruling, Chief Justice John Roberts emphasized the importance of the Fed's independence. Not only the fact of independence, but also the appearance of independence is key to the Federal Reserve's design, he wrote in a decision that frequently cited earlier rulings. The court made special mention of this aspect, stating it was crucial for ensuring the bank sets policy to serve long-term economic goals rather than short-term interests. The case began when President Trump announced his plan to remove Cook from the Fed on social media in August, citing claims she had filed mortgage forms claiming 2 different principal residences at the same time. Banks typically offer lower interest rates for primary homes. Solicitor General John Sauer argued before the court that the administration's handling of the firing provided sufficient notice and opportunity to respond. However, Cook's lawyer, Paul Clement, argued that the social media post did not provide adequate due process. He said the issue, even if inadvertent, amounted to negligence that could undermine confidence in the Fed. The court agreed with this assessment, ruling that the administration had failed to afford Cook procedural protections as required by law. In a separate case, Democratic Federal Trade Commissioner Rebecca Slaughter was dismissed without cause and lower courts upheld her claim that the move violated rules Congress put in place to protect members of independent government agencies. In Monday's decision written by Chief Justice John Roberts, the court's majority cited writings by James Madison, a framer of the U.S. Constitution who became president, and other Supreme Court rulings that empowered the president on personnel decisions. The ruling has significant implications for presidential power. It aligns with President Trump's aggressive efforts to transform government and put political allies in key positions. In his social media post, Trump hailed the decision as one of the most important ever given with respect to presidential powers, emphasizing it came at a time when executive authority is needed. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren slammed the opinion, accusing the administration of firing Democratic appointees and seizing control over independent agencies. She argued that such actions serve only political interests rather than the American public's needs. In contrast, Cook welcomed the decision, stating it affirms the central bank's independence. However, President Trump immediately escalated his challenge by indicating he would take appropriate action to ensure Cook's removal. This move has sent ripples through both economic policy and political dynamics within the United States. The Supreme Court's decision, in this case, underscores the ongoing struggle between executive authority and institutional independence. It highlights how complex interplays between federal agencies and executive power can reshape governance structures, potentially altering the balance of power within U.S. government systems. The row over Cook's appointment could have far-reaching consequences for economic stability, political dynamics, and the role of independent institutions in shaping policy. In a shocking turn of events, Pakistani airstrikes killed dozens of civilians in Afghanistan overnight, officials reported, shattering dreams and lives. Bismillah Khan, a 50-year-old Afghan man, had just returned home after working abroad for years to build his family's dream house. But the nightmare began when he heard explosions at dawn, destroying his home and killing his wife and daughter along with other relatives. Khan's house was among dozens of civilian homes that Afghanistan says were struck by Pakistani air raids overnight in the provinces of Paktika, Paksha, and Kunar along the two countries' disputed border. The Afghan government said the attacks killed at least 36 civilians and wounded 163 others, most of them women and children. Khan's wife and daughter were among those who perished in the first attack. Standing amid piles of stone and mud that until recently formed his home, Khan struggles to comprehend what happened. There were only women and children inside the house, he said, his voice breaking. I do not know why our home became a target. The second airstrike hit hours after the initial strikes, causing additional casualties as people searched through the rubble for survivors and rushed the wounded to nearby medical facilities. Residents described missiles landing near groups of civilians involved in rescue efforts, causing further loss of life. In Jilan village in neighboring Paktika province, Zarmina, a mother of 5, sits beside the ruins of her destroyed home. She lost both her husband and young daughter in the attack. We were asleep when the bombs fell, she said, clutching a blanket recovered from the debris. When I opened my eyes, everything was gone. We know nothing about politics or armed groups, she added. We are just farmers. In Kunar province, dozens of families have fled villages near the border, fearing further attacks. Local elders said many residents now prefer sleeping in open fields or moving farther away from the frontier. People here live between two fears, said tribal elder Mira Khan, the fear of war and the fear of losing their homes. The latest raids come amid escalating tensions between Afghanistan and Pakistan since the Taliban returned to power in August 2021, with both nations accusing each other of supporting militants. Since then, Pakistan has carried out a number of cross-border attacks, saying its forces have targeted fighters belonging to the Pakistan Taliban TTP, whom Islamabad accuses of using Afghan territory as a safe haven to launch attacks inside Pakistan. In recent years, Pakistan has witnessed a sharp increase in attacks claimed by the TTP, particularly in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan provinces. One Afghan official said the attacks would be met with retaliation. Pakistani forces claim their operations were launched in response to militant attacks across Pakistan. This tragic sequence of events highlights the devastating impact on innocent lives and underscores the need for de-escalation between neighbors. The loss of homes, families, and livelihoods has left communities reeling, with many now living in fear of further violence. As Afghan officials mourn the loss of civilians, Pakistani forces claimed their operations were in response to militant threats across Pakistan. The situation demands immediate attention from both nations to prevent such tragedies from recurring and to find a peaceful resolution that respects the sovereignty and rights of all parties involved. The suffering of innocent civilians is paramount, and it is crucial for leaders to prioritize de-escalation and dialogue over confrontation. Andy Burnham, tipped as Britain's next Prime Minister, delivered his first major political speech since regaining his seat in Parliament via a by-election. The 56-year-old MP from Ackerfield laid out an ambitious economic vision and policy priorities during a speech at the People's History Museum in Manchester. He emphasized radical change to the nation's political system after Sir Keir Starmer resigned amid Labour Party woes, making Burnham the frontrunner to succeed him as party leader. Burnham's speech was a stark departure from other domestic issues such as health or immigration. He pledged to hand more power to local councils and create what he called Number 10 North, a new nerve centre for policy direction that would bypass central London. Burnham argued this move would be essential for rebalancing the UK's political system, which he described as broken. His vision included regional development plans aimed at revitalising cities and towns neglected by Westminster. He proposed reversing decades of low growth since 2008 through a strategy dubbed Manchesterism, leveraging both public and private funds to invest in areas like transport, housing, and infrastructure. Burnham also promised reforms for inefficient water and energy utilities. However, his speech did not address foreign policy or national security plans. Critics have noted the absence of specifics on how he would finance these ambitious proposals. Despite winning praise for revitalising Greater Manchester during his tenure as mayor, Burnham faces challenges in scaling up Manchesterism to a national scale. as the only declared candidate to succeed Sir Keir Starmer, Andy Burnham could become Britain's next Prime Minister by mid-July if no other contenders emerge. His speech underscores the need for radical change and regional empowerment within a system that many argue has failed to deliver on promises for decades. Despite his impressive track record in Greater Manchester, where he revitalised the area through innovative policies, Burnham faces significant hurdles in scaling up Manchesterism to a national scale. Critics have pointed out the lack of specifics on how he would finance these ambitious proposals. His speech at the People's History Museum highlighted the need for radical change and regional empowerment within a political system that many argue has failed to deliver on promises for decades.